So you pride yourself on staying calm and on being rational, on thinking clearly under pressure. These are all fantastic things. And in many parts of your life, that's actually served you really well, right? Like for example, at work, right? It earns respect there. In conflict, it keeps things from boiling over. In chaos, it brings some sense of structure. But in relationships, especially in the moments that matter the most, logic can actually become more of a liability. Because what you call logical, she often feels as absence, as cold or distant or unreachable. And you think you're keeping things grounded, but she feels that you're slipping away. And the disconnect is there between logic and love. When she comes to you with something heavy, for example, like a fear, a frustration, a sadness, your instinct may be to fix it, right? And so you analyze and you clarify and you explain and you stay calm while she cries and you stay rational while she rages and you stay distant while she's begging you to feel with her. And you think, I'm doing the right things here. Like I'm keeping us from spiraling. I'm holding this together. But what she experiences is something very different. See, she doesn't feel comforted. She feels dismissed. She doesn't feel safer per se. She feels more alone. She doesn't feel held. She feels handled. And here's why logic feels safer than feeling, right? See, let's be honest. I resonate with this. Feelings can be messy, right? They're unpredictable. They can be raw. It can be it, it's hard to manage or measure feelings. And so you default to what feels solid and stable, and that's logic. Logic gives you control. It gives you something to actually stand firmly on. But that stability often comes at the cost of presence, because presence requires you to let go. Presence requires you to be in the mess, to feel and not just to think. And that can feel terrifying, especially if no one has ever modeled it for you, especially if you were taught that emotions are dangerous. And here's what's true though. Emotions are not the enemy. Disconnection is. See, when logic becomes avoidance, that needs to be addressed. There's a difference between emotional maturity and emotional avoidance. So maturity would say, I can feel with you without getting overwhelmed. Whereas avoidance would say, I'll explain my way out of this feeling and just bypass it. And that's where a lot of us men get stuck, because logic gives this illusion of control, of clarity, of strength. But too often it's a disguise, it's a shield, a silent way of saying, I don't know how to be in this with you, so I'll stay above it. See, you might not even realize that you're doing it. You're not trying to hurt her, right? You're just trying to help. But the thing is, she doesn't want you to hover above the pain. She wants you to step into it with her. She doesn't want this perfectly constructed explanation. That doesn't serve her as well as her wanting you to be there with your unfiltered presence. And here's the moment where it breaks her. You see, this process is subtle at first, and she brings something tender to you, for example. Maybe a fear that you're growing distant. Maybe a frustration that she doesn't fully understand herself. Maybe it's just a bad day. And you trying to be helpful, start offering solutions, right? You map out the next steps and you walk with her through what makes sense to you, and you keep your tone even, your emotions minimal, and you think you're actually showing love in the midst of this process, but she feels alone, because while you're offering your mind, you've in essence withheld your heart. And after enough of those moments transpire, she stops bringing things to you then. She closes down. Not because she's stopped loving you, but more so because she doesn't feel met anymore. She doesn't want to talk to a logic machine, right? She wants to talk to you, the real you, the emotional you, the vulnerable you. Even if that version is awkward, even if that version is still learning how to stay present and in the moment. See, you don't have to become someone that you're not, okay? This is not about rejecting your intelligence. And it's not about demonizing logic. It's about adding something back into the mix, something that may have been shut down for a long time ago. That's your ability to feel, your ability to empathize, your ability to stay in the room emotionally and to say things like, I don't have the answer, but I'm here with you. Or, gee, that sounds so painful. Can you tell me more? Or I feel overwhelmed too, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm here with you right now. These might sound simple, but they're quite revolutionary in that experience with her, because most people aren't craving perfection. They're craving presence. Not your brilliance, but your being there. See, I remember once this couple that I spent some time with. I'm going to call them James and Lydia. James was brilliant. He was an engineer. He was a systems thinker, and everything had a framework for him. Lila, she could come to him with emotion, and he'd immediately move into that problem-solving zone. Budgeting, time management, emotional triage, if you will. And he was genuinely trying to help. But the more he helped, the more Lila pulled away. And so she began to feel like a problem that needed to be solved, not a problem to be, not a person to be loved. And finally one night she just broke down. Tears in her voice cracking, she said, I don't want your plans. I want your presence. I want you to still feel with me in this moment. And that was James's wake-up call. Not because he was doing it maliciously, but because he realized that his logic had become this shield for him. Not just from her pain, but also from his as well. See, he'd never been taught how to sit in emotion. He'd only been taught how to outthink his way out of it. But in that moment, he let himself feel. He took her by the hand and he said, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say right now, but I love you and I'm here with you, and I want to do this differently if that serves you better. And that changed so much in their relationship. See, there's a shift from fixing to feeling. That's the shift, from fixing to feeling. For most of us, especially men, who are taught to prioritize strength over softness, and this shift feels unnatural at first, right? I mean, you're not just changing how you talk, you're actually changing the way that you relate. And that takes courage, because staying in the fix-it mode feels safer, doesn't it? And you get to stay in control. You get to still feel useful. You don't have to risk the vulnerability of being with someone in their pain. But here's something to wrestle with. Your usefulness isn't what makes you lovable. Okay? Your presence is what makes you lovable, not your usefulness. Let me say that again, because I think that's important, because when you get this, it changes everything in your experiential perception. Your presence is what builds trust. Your willingness to feel is what makes her feel safe. And it's not because you have the perfect words, and not because you have rational solutions. Her heart does not open up to efficiency. Her heart opens up to your empathy. And you're not any less of a man for learning how to offer that. You're actually more of a man for her. See, logic alone does not create safety. You might think that staying calm and staying collected helps you create this stable environment. But emotional safety is not about the absence of chaos, right? It's more so about the presence of compassion. And logic, when not paired with emotional awareness, can feel like this void. A cold hallway with no doors, a quiet room with no warmth, a conversation where no one's really home. See, she wants to know that you're in there, that there's still a heartbeat behind the facts that you're presenting, that there's still a soul behind the structure that you're offering. Because if you're emotionally absent, even if you're physically present, she feels abandoned. And that abandonment cuts deep. It's really not about becoming soft as much as it is about becoming real. And see, this is not about rejecting your natural strengths. You're logical, you're grounded, you're bringing clarity to the situation, and that's powerful. That's also needed too. But if your logic is masking fear, like the fear of intimacy, the fear of emotion, the fear of being overwhelmed, then it's not strength. That's hiding. Real strength is letting yourself be affected. Real strength is saying, I'm not here to fix you. I'm actually here to feel with you. And yes, that's scary, especially if no one has taught you how to do it, especially if your earliest lessons told you that being emotional was weak. But fear doesn't have to keep you frozen, okay? You can actually choose to relate in a different way. You can practice presence. You can grow. The freedom to feel is still accessible. That's part of what freedom from fear is all about. This new series that I am creating courses for. It's not about pretending that you don't feel. It's not about trying to outrun vulnerability. But it's reclaiming the strength that you lost when you shut yourself down emotionally once upon a time. The strength to be able to say, I'm here. I feel this too. I'm not going to run. You don't have to trade logic for emotion. You can actually hold both of those. You can be brilliant and connected. You can be grounded and vulnerable. You can be strong and soft. You can be the kind of man who not only understands, but also feels. And that's not weakness. That's what we call wholeness. So here's what she's been waiting for all along, okay? When she says, you never open up, or when she says, you feel distant, or I don't know where you go in your head, when. See, she's not asking you to become someone else in those moments. I think what she might be asking you is to bring more of yourself into that moment, right? The self behind the strategy, the self beneath the silence, the self that you've been protecting with your logic. Because love cannot connect to performance. It only connects to one who is present. And maybe, just maybe, that's what she's been craving all along. And that was never your answer. What she really wanted, though, was you. See, there's a cost of staying hidden, right? If you keep relying on logic to do the work of connection, you're going to keep missing the mark. Because she doesn't just want to hear your thoughts, she also wants to feel your presence. And when that doesn't happen, even if the conversation seems calm, or even if the relationship looks fine from the outside, something begins to wither, and trust begins to erode, and closeness begins to fade, and intimacy becomes a memory, not because of cruelty, but because of absence. And here's the tragedy. You might be doing everything right, but she still doesn't feel close to you, right? Because logic can't reach where presence was meant to go. So here's what it could look like, though, to stay present. Let me talk about that a little bit. See, sometimes staying present means saying, I don't know how to fix this, but I want to feel this with you. See that? Sometimes it means letting go of the perfect response that you had prepared and simply just saying, ah, that hurts, but I'm here. Sometimes it means staying in the discomfort and resisting the urge to retreat into problem solving, right? And allowing yourself the moment to be messy in that moment. Because the truth is, real intimacy is always a little bit messy, a little bit unpredictable, a little bit terrifying. But that's where connection lives. That's where connection lives. That's where love breathes. And when you can stand in that space, when you can actually feel and not just think, you become the kind of man that she can actually trust. One moment.
Interrupting you?
So, I don't have all the answers, but I do have the courage to stay present when it counts. And that's what I want to invite you to. So, the question is, what are you really afraid of? Come on in, make yourself comfortable. See, you might have been relying on logic, but this is really about fear. The fear of being exposed, the fear of getting it wrong, the fear of not being enough. See, you may have learned somewhere along the way that logic was safer than vulnerability, that performance was safer than being present. But that fear, if you don't actually face it, will keep running your relationships. It'll keep you distant. It'll keep her lonely. It'll keep both of you wondering why everything feels kind of off, even when nothing's technically wrong per se, right? And that's why this freedom from fear actually matters, because when you face the fear, and not just the fear of her feelings, but also your own feelings as well, it's in that moment that you become free to connect, free to love without armoring up, free to stay soft without actually falling apart, free to be you, like fully, honestly, courageously. So the invitation is this, in these final moments. The question I'd pose to you in this moment is, where are you still offering logic when what's really needed is you? Where are you hiding behind your performance instead of showing up with presence, right? And where are you keeping yourself safe at the cost of being truly seen? See, it's okay if all this sounds brand new to you. It's okay if you're still learning your way through this, and it's also okay if you've never had the roadmap for this kind of intimacy. But what's not okay is letting your fear run the show. See, you're capable of far more than calculation. You're capable of connection, right? And the people that you love, they're not asking for your perfection. They're actually asking for your presence. And my final word in this is that your story matters. See, I want to hear from you as well too. Have you ever caught yourself staying calm and logical only to realize that it was really driving the wedge between you and the person that you really care about? What happened in that moment? How and what did that cost you? And what did you learn from it? Drop your story in the comments section below, because I would love to read it. But not just for me though. Remember, there are others out there who are learning to trade performance for presence. And hearing a story like yours could be powerful for them, because your truth might be the very mirror that they need to finally start showing up for real in their own experience. So I'd love to hear it. Thank you for watching this episode. I can't wait to hear from you in the comments. I'll see you in the next one.